Good evening. Good evening. Let me call this meeting of the PACE Review Committee to order. May 14th, 2024. Let's start with a quick roll call so you know who we are. Jim Bartlett.
Champ Clausen.
Laura Lawson.
And with that, we do have a quorum, just barely. Let me start by explaining how this process works. Some of you all are experienced and old hat at this, and some of you aren't. So we will call project by project you up to the podium to give us a description of your project, and we'll have some questions for you. Based on the answers to those questions, we have a score sheet that we fill out. There's two different score sheets, one for the rehabilitation grant and one for the dilapidated structures grant. But in both cases, the minimum qualifying score on the score sheet is 36 points. And what we do, each of us does a score sheet independent of the other two, and then those scores are averaged. Now, we do not actually approve the grants. What we do is we make a recommendation based on those scores to the Board of Public Works, who in turn approves the grants. Generally speaking, and by generally speaking, I mean very high percentage, if we recommend that a property has scored high enough to receive the grant, then they almost always approve those grants, but they are the approving body, not us. This month, we've got an additional complication that we're dealing with, and that is that the city is divided into two areas. There is the target area, and that target area is allocated a certain percentage of the funds that we have available, and then the balance of the city. Dilapidated structures and structures within the target area receive funds from one bucket. The rest of the city receives funds from another bucket. I can tell you without any question, we do not have enough funds in the bucket for the rest of the city to allocate all of the applications that we have. The dilapidated structure and the target areas do have enough funds. Of course, again, that's going to be dependent on scoring. But we voted earlier in the year for this year that on the meetings when we are not going to have enough funding, that funding will be allocated based on high score, not based on when the applications were turned in. So at the end of the meeting, when those scores are averaged in the bucket of applications that is the balance of the city and not dilapidated structures, the highest scores are the ones that will receive funding or recommendations for funding. Is that clear as mud for everybody? Okay, with that,
Jim, what's
yes.
the target area?
The target area is generally the Walnut Street area and within a few blocks of there. So with that, let's go ahead and get started then, unless there's other questions. And we'll start with 317 Walnut.
517.
I'm sorry, 517 Walnut. Yes.
Okay, I am a last-minute addition because my husband had another 5:30 meeting that he needed to attend. I'll do my best.
Okay. And give us your name, and by the way.
I'm Pamela J. Sheenstein,
Okay.
RJL Properties.
Okay. And tell us about the project.
It's the south wall of the house. It's on the alley. We've had a lot of moisture issues inside. I know it's been painted inside more than once. I know the paint is flecking, and we've tried our best to try to stop that, and we think that retucking that south side will eliminate, or at least lower, the moisture issues inside the house. Now, I did not see the application when my husband filled it out. I just answer the phone and send text messages, so
Okay.
I'll answer as many questions as I can.
Okay. And you're planning on tuck pointing?
Yes, he already has, I think, someone lined up. Where's my paper?
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I've never met you. I think you've come to the door, I apologize, I'm sorry. He is here.
All righty.
Do you need to talk, do you need him up here? No, okay.
Unless he has more information to add to the description of what we're doing.
Yes, we just got the tuck pointing on the one wall. It's got, it's coming in through the house. It's getting on the inside, and it's doing a lot of damage on the inside, so it definitely needs to be addressed, I feel.
Okay.
And then there's some fascia board on the opposite side of the house too, that we're looking at replacing and painting as
The
well.
one that's away from the alley.
On the opposite side of the alley side.
Okay.
And you have to remember the houses are real close together.
Yeah.
In that block, so it's not like you get a lot of air circulation.
And when I went by, there's a lady that was sitting on the porch. This is
That's our
currently
rent-
rented out,
That's a
correct?
renter, yes. And the lady that cleans for me and cleans for her, she keeps me up to date too on the wall. And of course, anytime they ask for paint, we always, get paint for them and try to keep ahead of it, but it's kind of a endless battle.
Yeah, if this given time paint, it's not gonna
No.
repair it. It needs to be ground out and retuck pointed.
And I assume that you're using historically appropriate tuck pointing,
Correct. Line-based. board.
line-based?
Yeah.
You own numerous properties, correct?
Yes, we do.
Is there a way that the business has the funds to do this, or?
Not really, not with property taxes going up and, water, sewer, and garbage going up. It's kind of a struggle now. It really is.
Okay. But the rent of the lady that lives there, that's gonna be, it's not gonna go up? Get a
And
grant?
when we do increase rent, it's usually around $25 to $50 because we know a lot of our people are on fixed incomes.
So it's within the price of inflation?
Yes,
Okay.
hers isn't.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this, the scene from the street or the alley, just
It's
from
on
the street?
alley side.
Yeah, you can see it from both the Walnut Street as well as the alley.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did neglect to mention when we were discussing the process that when these recommendations are presented to the Board of Public Works, you do not need to be at that meeting. Okay. All right, 701 West Street.
Brian Marshall, 201 Plum Street.
So, Brian, tell us about your project.
It's been vacant for many years. It's just in really bad condition.
Any guess how many years? Ballpark.
Well, I think they ran some kind of a social club out of there like 10 years ago. But the last time it was really used, I couldn't tell you.
It's been 8 or 10 years then,
Oh,
I
yeah.
assume. Yeah.
residential apartment.
And I do see that you've got an unsafe declaration from the city
Yes.
on that property.
Yeah, I didn't know that carried the weight that it did last time I was here, but it was pretty easy to get. It's in rough shape.
Yeah, without that, the dilapidated structure applications are very difficult if you don't have that.
What all is being done to this?
It needs everything. Floor joists, roof, the whole structure of the roof, plumbing, electrical.
And did you say what you were gonna use it for? I'm sorry if I missed that.
Two-bedroom residential apartment.
Gotcha.
Is this just visible from Plum, or excuse me, West?
West and Fifth.
And you're gonna take it from vinyl siding back to wooden siding?
Correct. Standing seam roof, new windows.
Brian, I'll just say you've done remarkable jobs
Thank you.
throughout. You really done a lot of work, and I really appreciate that.
These programs sure help out.
You've done a lot.
And I presume that any changes to the existing structure have been approved by the historic board? Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Okay, is there someone here for 526 Jefferson? Nope. I'll move that down to the end, and if they show up later in the meeting, we'll pick them up at the end. All right, that brings us to 423 Mill Street.
Russell Benkert, 423 Mill Street. My first time, so be gentle.
So tell us about your project.
I bought the place December last year. Planned on putting some money into it, renting it out. It's a little worse shape than I thought, so now I'm gonna have to. I'll be cash poor, so I'll probably have to sell it. But looking to scrape and paint all the siding. Repair is needed. Right now I have 800 board feet quoted. I quoted the actual 1/2 inch by 6 inch wooden siding through a lumber mill. Try to make it match. Window trim, bad shape. Scrape it, paint it, repair is needed. Nothing with the windows as of yet. The front columns, same thing, scrape paint. There's a couple of them that are in bad shape. Hopefully don't have to replace it. Hopefully non-historic. I was gonna tear it off.
So you're taking it back to the historic, structure?
Correct.
I had a question on that. When I went by the house, I noticed that it's a duplex. How's that gonna affect you tearing down that part of it? How's that gonna affect the neighbor?
There's a wall separating the two.
Okay,
I may have to do something on the, shingles,
okay.
some flashing or something, grip edge. I've talked to the neighbors, I believe it's her cousin, she's her caretaker, and we discussed it, and I've got her card in case we run into any problems.
Okay, good, good. Were you doing anything with that concrete along the side? I noticed it was broken a bit too. Was that part of this, or?
It's not part of this, I don't know what's gonna happen there yet.
Okay.
How long have you owned the property?
Since December.
Since December, okay.
It's currently vacant.
Any guesses how long it's been vacant?
Just since I purchased it.
Right, yeah. And you're thinking that you're gonna sell it?
I believe so, yeah. If I can get out cheap enough, I'll rent it.
Is that visible from both the street and the alley?
Yes, it's
Okay.
visible from West Third and Mill.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't believe so. Or you told me you guys. Yeah, do you have to stick around? Can I go?
You can go, I'll call
We
it
good?
when I get the results.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 320 Mulberry Street.
Hi, Laurel Wall, 320 Mulberry.
Tell us about your project.
We are planning on rehabbing the two front windows at the front of the building. We're hoping to restore as much as possible and make it look the same as it did, but one window has a big crack in it and the wood is getting in pretty bad shape. We tried painting and stuff and and maintenance, and that's not working, so we're needing to rehab the whole thing.
You currently reside there, correct?
I do not.
Is it being rented?
Yes.
Is the windows being repaired or replaced?
Replaced.
What kind of windows were you looking to put in?
The same kind that's
Exact same that's in there right now?
yeah.
Any guesses how long you all have owned that property?
Probably 6 years. access windows.
Is that visible from the alley?
From the alley?
Yeah,
No, there's another building.
Another building
next,
there?
Before the alley. It's visible from the alley across the street, I guess, if that counts.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Four 12 West Main.
Pastor Doug Walker at Trinity United Methodist Church at 412 West Main. We want to do some rehab to our building. It's a very visible building from all four sides. So the front doors at Main Street, we need to repair the stained glass that's in those front doors. People actually push on them and they've bulged, and so we've actually got two missing right now because they were in such bad shape. Another part of the project is years ago we covered all the stained glass with plexiglass, and it was meant to be vented, but it never was, and things just fell through the cracks, we'll just say. So we have recontacted Rhonda Diggs, and she still has the vents, and we found a contractor willing to do it with the lift and rent the lift and all that. We have Florentine glass in the first floor in Fellowship Hall. Florentine glass isn't made anymore, but Rhonda has a supply on that, and she can get some to replace 3 panes that we've replaced with frosted glass. We try to make that look all nice and pretty. The doors, for whatever reason, our forefathers thought it'd be best to have wood doors. Maybe that's why it was available. They need to be repainted. We just repainted them 3 years ago. And then the last part of the project is the rear. We have a handicap ramp. It was grandfathered. It is not OSHA, but we want to put an electric door opener on that to let people with wheelchairs and walkers and things to get in. They can hit a button. The idea is inside button will open it. Outside will be a keypad, so we won't have to leave it unlocked. But it'll be, and then it will still be that door will still be a fire exit because it will still be breakaway.
Is that just available from Main Street there? If we were to look at the building?
You can see it from Main and also from the Broadway Fountain.
Okay.
The main entrance is actually the Broadway Fountain.
Right.
Right there at the Broadway Fountain. And then it has 2 alleys on the backside, and both of them are visible. It's all visible on all 4 sides.
And the door opener you're putting in is on the alley, is it not?
It is on the alley. We looked at putting a ramp where the steps are, and to put OSHA and the length, it just won't fit. Really, it would take up the entire front. It just, not easily doable. I think somebody ballparked $40,000.
Wow.
Because, it's an inch per foot. And so, like the Hensler Garden on the Main Street side, it would take that whole garden to get down.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 627 Walnut.
My name is Ron, and I live at 204 Plum Street. This property is a building that caught fire a couple of years ago. It was an apartment complex. It had been remodeled many, many times. I was pretty confused. We decided that we would go inside, clean it out, try to save it. Discovered the remnants of a 1850s timber frame structure inside, which turned out to be the original home of one of the conductors of the Underground Railroad. So we decided this is an important building. Rather than scrape it, which would make the most sense, we decided to try to save it. So far, we've rebuilt the stone foundations, demolished all the additions, which were not part of the original house, rebuilt the sill beams and reframed the timber frames on the first floor, covered it with plywood to stabilize it, and the next stage is to make the outside look like 1854. Wood siding, divided light windows, probably modern thermal panes. I don't know if you've seen the application or not, but there's drawings that show a house that could either be a 2 or a 3 bedroom with a study. It's a large corner lot. It's very visible. It's the worst house in that neighborhood by far for a long time. And these corner lots are really important because they set the tone for the neighborhood. So we want to do a little jewel there. And eventually, I'm not really crazy about being a landlord, but I'd like to sell it, I think, or we don't know for sure. There's a lot of interest in historic preservation tourism in that Georgetown area, so we'll just have to see. But the first step is to restore the exterior, and that's what we would use these funds for. We're talking about real wood siding, historic doors, historic peering windows, and cleaning up the yard and making it look presentable from the outside. And if you look at the drawings, it's really a lovely wood frame federal style. There aren't a lot of those in town, but this could be a jewel. And I think if you study those drawings, you'll see we know of a few that exist in town, and this is going to be one of them. So I think it's significant property because of its methods of construction. We've had the wood dated as 1854, and we know its history through deed searches and through support from Historical Society here in town. And so our goal is to save it and put it on the Underground Railroad list for tours. And so that's what we're trying to do.
I've been by there a couple of times, and just, I remember 2 years ago, and the work that is, I know that you said it's the ugliest in the area, but you've taken that thing all the way back to the original foundation. You can actually see the stone that was laid there. And I don't know if either one of y'all have been there, or if anybody out there has, but man, I'm telling you that you can see the history come alive. You've done a great job there. And those timbers that you mentioned, you actually have some of those out there in the yard right now. And
We're going to clean that yard up, by the way.
you're in a construction project. It's not clean right now. We're not worried about that, but you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Ron, I don't see I don't see an unsafe statement from the city, but I assume that it has been declared unsafe.
Yes, it has. I was just getting ready to mention that. I failed to print it out for the
Okay.
application.
And any guesses how long ago that fire was?
Years ago.
Well, it was probably 2 years ago. It was in the summertime, I think, July maybe in the summertime, so almost 2 years ago.
And it was occupied up to that time,
There were
wasn't it?
there were 4 apartments there. 3 of them were marginally habitable. One of them wasn't habitable at all. It was, then when the people left, they just left everything.
Yeah, it was pretty rough even before it caught on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. So we stopped working on it in the fall because we have the Picker House project going over at the hotel. You know, Herschel Bricktoe's working with us on it. It can't be everywhere at once, so had to get that one done. So we'll be circling back here soon.
Could you tell me once again what your plans were at the,
My plans are vague. I want to save a historic building. I want to put it in the hands of someone who respects it. If I could find a buyer who wants it, I would sell it to them. If I could find a young family that wanted to finish the interior, I would sell it to them. If the group that's trying to promote historic tourism along there is successful, I wouldn't mind if it somehow became involved in that underground railroad group. But clearly, you can tell this is not a money-making enterprise. No, this is a labor of love for property that needs to be saved. If I had my wish, I would say it becomes a home for a young family.
It's a great project. Thank you. And 409 East Main Street.
Oops, sorry. I'm another newbie, so please.
you woke us up.
Yeah, well, it's hollow. Anyway, my name is Bob Rouse. I live at 409 East Main Street. We've lived there for 6.5 years now.
Can you tell us about your project?
It's pretty basic and straightforward. We're wanting to get the house repainted. We have some tuck pointing that needs to be done. There's a chimney in the rear of the house and several bad spots on the back wall of the house that need to be repaired for the brick. And I have contacted Steve Land for the tuck pointing and Payne's painting for the paint on the house. It'd be the body of the house. And we have it in here to, he's going to scrape, caulk, prime, and paint and remove the shutters that are not original to the house.
Is this the house that can be seen on Main as well as Baltimore?
We're 2 doors down from Fairplay, so you can see it definitely from the street, plus the back of the house is visible from the alley.
How long have you been in that house?
It'll be 7 years in November.
7 years?
Yeah, 6.
That is your residence, right?
Yes, it is. that's not quite correct. I just noticed that myself. We have shutters on the front two upstairs windows, and then there's a build-out down on the west side that have shutters. They are not original to the house. I was looking at them, and somebody put like a 1x4, nailed it or installed it into the brick, and then put the shutters on top. There are two tall shutters on the front porch, which I believe have been there for quite a while, and those would stay,
Okay, so the ones up above,
would just be gone.
Which will bring it back to a more of
Historical
a
look.
original look.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Eleven twelve West Main. Nobody here for that one? All right, we'll call it out again at the end. In case they show up. So 120 East Second Street.
Good evening.
hey, how are you?
Good. My name is Kurt Rafferty, Madison 353 LLC, and I'm here for 120 East, or 120 East Second Street, sorry. I would like to formally pull my application. After hearing some of the stories out here and realizing that there was not enough grant money, I feel like, since I have a very large budget for this project, I'd like it to stay within the homeowners of this town, if that is okay.
I'm good with that, I appreciate it. What about you, Jim?
You know, I always appreciate if somebody's able to divert that money to somebody who needs it more.
Hearing the stories, it just touched my heart, and we do a lot of development, so the money needs to stay here with the townspeople and their homes. I appreciate if you would do that for me.
We salute your attitude towards the community. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to turn that one in?
Yeah, I think,
I'll just take it.
yeah, make sure I got the right one here.
It's the dilapidated structure one.
Yep. Which brings us to 614 East Main.
Hello, everybody. My name is Margot Henderson, and we live at 614 East Main, which is a two-story brick on the corner of Main and Baltimore. And our tuck pointing over the years has really eroded to the point where there's a section on the second story that might have almost been an addition because it's completely eroded away. So, that's kind of worrisome. And also, our paint is bubbling on some of the window surrounds, and they're getting soft, so they need to be, repaired. And also, last night, I was watering my garden when I noticed a 6-foot piece of soffit board had fallen off the night before and was right in the yard, so, yeah, it was rotten. So, Mr. Tumpy will give you more lovely details, but we've been there for 22 years, so, we've taken really good care of it, but you can't stop the weather, Thank you.
chimney needs a lot of work done to it. The joints are all rotted out. So we plan on rebuilding the chimney back to its original form. There's a lot of masonry work somebody's done in the past. It's not done with the correct mortar. In time, it's gonna spoil the brick, I feel, as a brick mason myself, knowing. So we're gonna plan on grinding them joints out, retucking them back with the lime mortar, lime-based mortar, to do it the correct way. There's a lot of washed out joints. We plan on fixing it. And then, the window seals need to be scraped, repainted. The framing needs to be done. We plan on repainting them, scrape them, repaint them, and then go ahead and caulk it back as needed.
And Margot, this is your residence? Okay.
But I feel we need to get to the chimney as soon as possible.
Right.
Is this able to be seen on Baltimore as well as Maine? Is this able to be seen on Baltimore as well as Maine? I thought so. Right, right.
Thank you.
313 Baltimore Street.
BJ Combs Construction Company. I'll be representing Mr. and Mrs. Detmer on this. So basically, this structure needs quite a bit of masonry work. So basically, I would say 80% of it needs to be retuck pointed. 20% we're gonna have to relay the brick is in that bad a condition. And then replacing the, I don't know if you see in the pictures there's some windows that have been boarded up. The wood has basically deteriorated through the years, so we're replacing that. And then priming, priming the building, top coating the entire structure, walls, and then scraping and coating the roof with elastomeric coating.
And when I went there, we're talking about the back side, the alley side of the building, as well as the front, the Baltimore side, correct?
All four sides.
Okay.
So the
Well, it
south,
runs all the way to Second Street, right?
well, so this particular structure stops, basically, I don't know if I got a picture of it or not, but it actually stops at, did you see the downspout that come down from the second story? Okay,
Yes.
so that particular property, that parcel actually stops there.
Okay.
And then the house on the corner, actually, that is one parcel there as well.
Okay. That's somebody else's property.
Correct.
So according to the pictures and what I saw when I was there, the replacement is going on the alley side.
Yeah, mainly, that's the worst part. Obviously, that's to get
Right.
brunt of the weather, but yeah, that's the worst part. The window seal, well, really no window's been boarded up, but that seal will have to be replaced, the lintel replaced, and then reset the brick as well.
Will this include the window that is broken out, that has the lumber that's visible on it? As you're looking at the garage door, it's immediately to the left.
Yeah, I don't think that belongs to, so this
Is
is,
that the one you're
this would
talking
be the
about?
front. Are you speaking of this window here?
So
He's got the
we're
same
looking at
picture.
just the garage door, is that correct? So you're talking about the downspout by the garage door. You see that window that's boarded up right next to the garage
Yes.
door? that's gonna be replaced as well?
It will not be glass. Maybe replacing the board there, yes.
With plexiglass then, or?
Probably boarded up with wood and sealed up and painted.
Okay.
Just from the inside, it's mainly storage, so they want to keep it as secure as possible, so.
Is that property, well, is that property currently, what's the use of that property currently?
I think mainly storage.
Storage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that is, what's their intention after the project's completed?
I
To
think
maintain that,
Mr.
or-
Detmer is a woodworker, so he does some woodworking inside there.
Uh-huh.
So basically woodworking, storage, that sort of thing.
So it's kind of his business then?
I don't think he's retired, yeah,
Retired.
so,
It's his hobby.
yeah, he just does it as a hobby.
It's not his business.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I changed my mind. Okay.
325 Mulberry Street.
Steve Nagy, and it's 325 Mulberry. We bought the building roughly 20 years ago, hoping to be able to retire there at some point. Things come up and we're still not to that point yet. But the facade has started to pull away from the building, so we're looking to get some work done they're going to put steel rods in there, pull the facade back up to the front of the building. I think there's a picture in there showing where it has started to force some of the bricks away from the front of the building. So the project will involve putting 9 steel rods in, that they'll be cutting out some of the second floor flooring to put the steel rods in, and then pull that back in place, and then they will replace those bricks along the front of the building and get everything squared back up.
This is your business and your residence?
We have someone that's renting the first floor from us as a business right now, because we're still, at some point, we would like to retire and live in there. But my wife's mom has some health issues, so we ended up, she had to take a job up in Michigan, and so we don't know when we're gonna get to being able to move down here. But at some point, we'll probably have a small business on the first floor and then live in the top 2 floors. But we don't know when that'll be or when we'll be able to afford to do that. So this is just something to get it in shape so we can do that at some point.
When I went down there, I noticed that the gutters are also pulling away from the building.
Yeah,
Is that going to be addressed at some point?
yeah, and we also are working with John Marsh. He's gonna take care of some of the other stuff after this is the first step of a couple different things. He did all the work for us. We bought the building in 2004, 2005, that had been empty for like 5 years at that point. And he did all the restoration work for us back then. And then, after, Sam Anderson's doing the work for us, on the facade. And after he gets done with that, John is gonna do the other work for us afterwards.
You're correct, that brick is bowing out, we can
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. But John actually recommended Sam to do the brickwork. He said he's really good with it.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us to 604 Mulberry.
Ryan Rogers, 804 East First Street. Addresses always mess me up. One's 604, one's 804.
Want to tell us about it?
Yeah, this is a structure my wife and I bought over a year ago. We were going to keep it as rental apartments. There was two tenants in it, been there for 20 years. They both said they wanted to stay. Ultimately, one moved out the day we closed. The other one had to move out for some other issues. We went in to clean it up a little bit. Found that it was just a disaster. The plumbing was bad. The electric was bad. Bad guano, coal dust. So we ended up gutting the structure. What we found is that the bearing wall in the front of the house and the back of the house both are compromised. They need to have quite a bit of masonry work done on them. And then the additions on the back were sloped quite a bit. So when we pulled all that apart, we found everything's rotted underneath of it. And the back, the very back structure, the rafters are actually rotted and broken. And the front addition on the back, the roof is actually resting on the rotten structure on the very back. So there's quite a bit of reconstruction necessary to get that back in shape. And then we're going to replace the front door with something a little bit more appropriate. Replace the side door, which is a $250 steel door now, and brick in one window or one door. It used to be a window, converted back to a window. New siding on the additions in the back, and new windows and doors there as well.
What's your plans for the building after?
I think at this point we're going to sell it. My wife and I've been talking. We own another property in Madison. I think we're going to put another house on that property. It is visible from two streets.
Did you say if it's been deemed unsafe?
It has been. I was here last meeting and didn't have that letter.
Okay.
How long's it been vacant?
A year.
You said that is visible from two streets?
Yeah, if you're going down 4th Street, you can see the back portion of it over the fence. It is high enough, and it does look a little out of place because of the T111 siding and all that. I will be going back with LP Smart side.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I don't think anybody else has come in, but is there anybody here for 526 Jefferson? Or 1112 West Main? And with that, don't believe we have any new business, so I think we're simply waiting on the score results.
Okay, so I'm gonna do these in the order that they applied, and then I split my spreadsheet so I can talk about each different category. But for those who have the score sheet, 517 Walnut Street scored 31, and again, all these are out of a minimum score of 36. 701 West Street scored 42.67. Skipping Jefferson Street. 423 Mill Street scored 40.67. 320 Mulberry Street scored 28. 412 West Main Street scored 37.67. 627 Walnut Street scored 43.67. 409 East Main Street scored 35.67. Skipping West Main Street and East 2nd Street. 614 East Main Street scored 42.33. 313 Baltimore Street scored 37. 325 Mulberry Street scored 38. 604 Mulberry Street scored 35.33. So that leaves for the dilapidated structures or target area, 701 West Street and 627 Walnut Street scoring above the minimum. And then for the rehabilitation grant, let me check. So we have $10,313.19 available. The highest score of 42.33 was for 614 East Main Street, which their request is $7,500. The next one would be for 423 Mill Street at 40.67. He also requested $7,500, so you don't have enough to fund both of those. The one after that, that you could fund would be 412 East Main Street. We requested $3,931, but we are short about $1,117.81. Yes. So if you were wanting to use all of the funds, those would be the two you could fund if Trinity Church would agree to a lesser amount. Otherwise, you could fund just the first one and you would have some money left that could be rolled over into next year.
What was the number 2 score that was requesting 7,500?
It was for 423 Mill Street. And again, you could offer him the same thing. It'd be roughly about $2,000 that he would receive. have full funding for and allow that money to roll into next year.
I would move that we approve both of the dilapidated structures that qualify and are target or dilapidated, and that we approve the high score on the balance of the applications at its full amount and offer the balance available first to 423 mil if they accepted that. If they don't, then offer it to 412 West Main.
So there is one in between, just to be clear. The order for the rehabilitation grants are 614 East Main, 423 Mill, 325 Mulberry Street, then 412 West Main, and then 313 Baltimore.
Then I would modify my recommendation to, in order of high score, work our way down and offer them that reduced amount to see who accepts it.
I agree with that.
Is that a second?
That's a second.
I agree with that as well. That's a third.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And again, these are our recommendations to the Board of Public Works.
Nicole, for my slow ears, could you go through that list one more time?
Do you want me to do them in the order that they applied?
No, in the order
in
of,
the order,
The order that, yep,
yes.
scoring?
Said 614 East Main, right?
Yes, so it's 614 East Main at 42.33, 423 Mill Street with a score of 40.67, 325 Mulberry Street with a score of 38, 412 West Main Street with a score of 37.67, and then 313 Baltimore with a score of 37.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
so again, just for, make sure we're all on the same page. 701 West and 627 Walnut are fully funded because they're in the target and or dilapidated structure bucket. 614 East Main, is that right?
Yes.
Would be fully funded. And then the balance, which is $2,500 roughly,
Something like that, yeah.
would be offered in order, starting at 325 Mulberry, 412 West Main, 313 Baltimore, depending on which one accepted that offer for reduced
It would
funding.
first start with 423 Mill,
Oh, sorry, 423,
and
then
then that
325.
order, correct.
And is there any other new business that we need to discuss? Okay. And with that, the balance of the city would have zero funding available for the balance of the year. The target area and dilapidated structures would have,
It would be approximately 161,000.
okay, available for the balance of the year.
Yes.
Okay. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So then, I have a question. So let's say, so if they say, well, I'll take the 2,800 or 2,500, does that mean that they can't apply then for another couple of years? So what would be the reasoning of them